1 Thessalonians 5 verse 16 through 18. Rejoice always, pray without ceasing, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you. Paul's command in 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 17 to pray without ceasing can be confusing. Obviously, it cannot mean we are to be in a head bowed, eyes closed posture all day long. Paul is not referring to non-stop talking, but rather an attitude of God consciousness and God surrender that we carry with us all the time. Every waking moment is to be lived in an awareness that God is with us and that He is actively involved and engaged in our thoughts and actions. When our thoughts turn to worry, fear, discouragement, and anger, we are to consciously and quickly turn every thought into prayer and every prayer into thanksgiving. In his letter to the Philippians, Paul commands us to stop being anxious and instead, in everything, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. A lot of prayers will be what the old forefathers called spontaneous prayers that just go up in little darts and phrases up to God. Lord, help me with this next task I have to do. Lord, keep me from sin now. Lord, help me avoid temptation here in this situation. When we're not backsliding as Christians, when we're living close to God, then this kind of prayer life is spontaneous. But when we start to backslide and we start to grow lukewarm, those spontaneous prayers begin to diminish and we fall away from this lifestyle of prayer that involves praying without ceasing. As we go through the day, prayer should be our first response to every fearful situation, every anxious thought, and every undesired task that God commands. A lack of prayer will cause us to depend on ourselves instead of depending on God's grace. Unceasing prayer is, in essence, continual dependence upon and communion with the Father. For Christians, prayer should be like breathing. You do not have to think to breathe because the atmosphere exerts pressure on your lungs and essentially forces you to breathe. That is why it is more difficult to hold your breath than it is to breathe. Similarly, when we are born into the family of God, we enter into a spiritual atmosphere where God's presence and grace exert pressure, or influence, on our lives. Prayer is the normal response to that pressure. As believers, we have all entered the divine atmosphere to breathe the air of prayer. We are not always so situated that we can enter into our closets to seek God in prayer, but there is no time or place in which it is inappropriate to offer up a petition to God. Brethren, we should pray in all places, and under all circumstances. Our petitions may be only broken ejaculations, or they may be but secret thoughts of the heart, but whatever we have opportunity for, let the soul be drawn out and upward, that God may grant us a breath of His heavenly atmosphere. Let the Spirit groan after God, and mingle faith with fervent desire. Often we have found that in trusting to men we have leaned upon broken reeds, but the Lord will never disappoint the soul that believes in Him. There is no limit to the blessings that we may receive in answer to sincere, fervent prayer. The love of God to fallen man is measureless, and if our Father sees that we will not be lifted up with the blessings He has power to bestow upon us, but will receive them with humble and grateful hearts, He will abundantly grant unto us our requests.